Have you been wondering why you're not getting seen, why you're not getting the recognition that you're looking for, why you're not seemingly able to receive as much money as you would like as a projector? I've been thinking about this a lot because that's all I do. I think about how projectors work and what makes them tick. And so, one of the things that I've been noticing again today in myself as well is when I was putting my baby down to nap, and I was like, oh my God, now I have 90 minutes, probably, maybe a little more, a little less, to be really productive. And I felt this energy rise up in my body, this like those stress hormones. And immediately I felt like a contraction. I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. It's the productivity addiction that I have, trying to push me forward again, trying to get me to do something. But ultimately, when I create from that energy, neither my posts are as powerful as they could be, or sometimes I actually end up not feeling like doing anything because the level of stress hormones in my body is too high. So then I thought about like what are actually the things that are happening right now if I were to create from this space of stress, of pushing, of trying to be productive just for productivity's sake, but without creativity and without inspiration. So first of all, I noticed that my body is contracting. And so when my body contracts, that is an alarm system for my body. It triggers certain hormonal response, stress hormones, which then also set me into fight or flight, which then also activate in my mind, in my brain, more of a scarcity mindset, survival mindset. I can no longer then create from expansion. I can no longer create from a calm and still nervous system where I really think more about the client and what the client needs and what would be beneficial for the client. But I end up thinking more about how can this benefit me? How can this benefit me? And when I think that way, and when I create content or try to sell from that space, the client will always feel it. The client will always feel when we're doing something just for ourselves, and the client is more of an afterthought. And I'm not saying that that's a general thing because the reason most projectors or reflectors or any entrepreneur really, especially if you're a coach or a healer, we've created our businesses usually because we truly care about people and we want to change lives and we want to help. But then what comes in is this this survival mechanism of, oh, now I need to make money with it. And it's like the same thing, kind of the same mechanism with like you have a really talented photographer and they start taking projects for other people and can no longer use their creativity because then they have completely to obey by the client's vision, and then their magic gets lost and then their job is no longer fun and all that kind of stuff. So I personally like to avoid that cycle because for me, especially, or for anyone with an undefined sacral, the sacral is all about creativity. And when I'm in hyper stress mode, or even slightly in like a more cortisol, stress hormone, pushy kind of state, my creativity isn't flowing. And then in the past, I don't do this anymore. I've learned my lesson because what happens then is like when my creativity is low, it's like, oh, I still need to be productive. I still need to offer output. I still need to put myself out there so that I can be seen, so that I can sell, so that people know about me and my offers. Now I'm like, Chat GPT, can you help me sell this? Can you write a post along this or those? And then Chat GPT spits out something. And that feels very productive because it's fast and you're like, whew, and temporary relief, but it's not really what brings the deep alignment, and it's not really what brings clients in because AI content is everywhere now and people just glance over it because there's no creativity in there. It's not, and the purpose of creativity really being making people feel like, especially if you take music or if you take photography or if you take anything with images, it's so much more obvious, but also books or writing, anything creative, but also if you just see cooking a meal as creativity, right? When somebody cooks a meal just toss some things together that have some macronutrients and get the calorie load right, but doesn't put any love and creativity into it, it feels bland, it feels boring. It's like, yeah, I'll eat this. But if somebody creates a meal and is being creative about it in whatever way that means to them, usually it makes the person who eats it, it makes them feel something. And that is the thing, like, especially in business, when it comes to selling, when it comes to people buy because they feel something. And so the whole thing with AI content, and this is, by the way, why I advise all my clients not to use AI for content, but we use it instead for structuring or proofreading or whatever, but not for creating content, because you lose your client in that process. But it all comes back to maintaining that space of calm nervous system where I can be original, where I can be creative, where I can ask my channel, like, what wants to come through? What does my audience need to hear right now? When I sat down for recording this video, I was like, I have a whole list of 50 million YouTube trainings that I could do. But I don't always feel like it's alive. I don't always feel like this is for today. So I just knew I needed to, and I wanted to sit down and record a video, but I didn't even want to go to my list. I wanted to completely trust my creativity and originality space. And so I sat down, I closed my eyes. I'm like, I'm not going to record anything until it comes through. And so I set myself up with the space, with the intention, and then now it was totally clear, and it's all flowing through and it's all making sense. So that is for me, and I advise this to anyone with an undefined sacral, but especially projectors and reflectors, because there's no motor to the throat for us. Manifestors have a little bit of a leg up sometimes, but manifestors usually just feel really, really good when they're in their creativity anyways. They're so deeply connected to it. But we don't have the motor to the throat as projectors and reflectors. So what we do have is the voice of our creativity that speaks in wisdom, because when we don't have a defined channel to the throat, anything from the sacral to the throat, then we have an undefined channel to the throat, which means we need to be wise about it, which means we need to ask our divine guidance what needs to be spoken, because when we're wise, we ask our divine guidance what needs to happen. So back to feeling stressed and feeling productive, like we need to be productive. And it's not that you can't be productive, it's just how do you enter into your productivity? Because once I sit down from this space of calm nervous system and creativity and I want to produce, then oftentimes I get into a cycle of productivity. Then I'll be like, oh, I forgot to eat lunch. And that's rare for me because I love food, But I got into the space through my creativity, through flow, through listening to my channels, and not through, oh God, I need to produce something. And so what I do sometimes is when I feel that's happened for me is I might lie down on my bed for 15 or 20 minutes, however long it takes, flat on my back, shavasana, all spread out, just to ground off those stress hormones and really calm down again and feel like oftentimes when I have all these hormones or other people's energy in my body, it feels like I have a lot of energy, but none of it feels good. None of it feels flowy. So that's how I know. And then I lie down and I might do shavasana. Or what also sometimes helps me, depending on the time of day and the temperature outside, is a walk in the neighborhood with listening to something, or sometimes music, or sometimes just quietude, or going, now I'm relaxing, just thinking about it. Or going into my yard and looking at the plants. Soon I'll have a vegetable garden because it's spring, and then I can do some plant pruning or whatever. Just to get myself back into that calm nervous system, I might do some light household chores that make me feel good and accomplished and make my space more beautiful, because that's always important for me, not to have clutter. Because if my space is cluttered and yeah, untidy or not inspiring to me, then creativity also can't come through. And then obviously also be less productive because my creativity can't come through because I feel stressed by everything that I need to look at. And oh my God, I need to do this later, that later. So sometimes during the day, what really helps me, even not from a productivity space, but just from moving my body a little bit and doing something that is not work until I feel like I'm inspired again. And once I feel the inspiration hits, and that also for me often means that I don't turn on the podcasts or trainings into my AirPods anymore because being in my own quietude, and that is also, of course, has to do with 24 being my sun gate, which is all about quiet or stillness and invention. So when I'm really in a space, I do get inspired a lot by listening to cool stuff. But my most original stuff comes through when I'm not listening to anything. And that is extreme deconditioning, right? Because I want to scroll just like everyone else. I want to listen to all the podcasts and trainings just like everyone else, right? But when I'm really thinking about how am I of the highest service to the people who need me, aka you guys, then I'm like, okay, highest service is if I turn this off now and I just sit and wait, what wants to come through? Because the messages for you guys that come through me when I operate like that, they are the most productive for my business that I've ever seen, right? And this is where common business advice and a lot of the general business coaching, it'll get you somewhere, but it won't get you to feeling in peace and alignment and really like that you can be you and be successful because you're always feeling like you have to mimic somebody else's way of doing things, or if you don't do this, or if you don't post 15 times a day, or if you don't do the latest Reels trend and all that kind of stuff. If you have this kind of alignment where you're just really listening to your channel and posting when you're in alignment and when you can listen and when your creativity flows through, you can reach the right people and the right people will reach out to you. And that's just how it goes. So the more undefined centers you have, the more important this is, but everyone is going to follow suit. It's just the undefined center people. We're here to pioneer this way of being, this way of doing business, and everyone else is going to have to follow suit eventually, anyways, because the current ways are just not working. And having a business and having a life is already pretty stressful sometimes, right? So, whatever we can do to be of service, be of value, create the most help and value in the world, while also being able to breathe, feel like a calm, centered body, feel like, no, I don't have a to-do list of 50 million things that I need to work off in case before the end of the day, after my kids are asleep and when I'm exhausted and my brain is mushy. None of that stuff anymore. We get to take care of ourselves and we get to model that this works from a calm nervous system. And I believe that this is what we're here for. Subscribe, like, comment. I want to hear all your stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.